How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. So today I decided to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be telling a story of a hunt that I had. I actually got it on film. It happened quite a long time ago. It was my third year into bow hunting and fourth year into bow hunting. And at this point in time, I had shot in 2 does with my bow, and I had yet to shoot a buck. And so the main goal of my season that year was to shoot my very first buck. I didn't care what it had on its head. I just wanted horns. I was out by myself, sitting in a ground blind, and I had the camera beside me. I self-filmed it. It was a lot of fun. I'm kind of walk through the hunt and explain kind of what was happening, what was going on, because it does get a little confusing. I think I was confused at the time, and so we're just gonna walk through it. So this was a Saturday morning hunt. I was out early. I was out, I think it was like, I don't know, 10 minutes before legal shooting light. I was out in the blind. I had been sitting for probably an hour, I'm assuming, and I heard something coming, so I turned the camera on. I peeked out the window to my left, and I was like, oh man, there's a buck coming. And I was so excited at that point. I have abnormally high buck fever, and when I see a buck or a deer that I'm going to shoot, my knees start knocking. Like, I get severe buck fever, and which makes it very difficult for me to concentrate. Anyway, so this deer came in kind of from the left-hand side, worked its way straight across in front of me. I thought he was going to stop and eat my apples. Here in Ontario, it is legal to bait deer when you're hunting them, so I'd thrown out some crab apples, and I thought he was going to stop and eat some. He didn't. He kept walking right through, and I tried to draw back on him several times, but he kept stopping every time I try and draw back. And the reason for that was, I think, is because my release at the time had the Velcro on the release. So whenever I went to pull back, it would pull against my wrist, and that Velcro was getting very worn, so it would crackle like crazy every time I pulled back. The other thing too is that I was shooting a whisker biscuit, and I was having trouble with the noise of it sliding on the arrow when I pulled it back. So eventually I did finally just decide, you know what, screw it, I'm going to pull back. And I pulled it back, and he stopped broadside. I think it was probably about 10 yards away. He was not that far away. And I let it rip. And from the footage, as you can see, it looks like a perfect shot. It looks like I nailed him. The sucker won't go 20 yards and fall over. Well, that's exactly what happened. He ran probably 15 yards, and he stopped, and he just stood there. And I was like, all right, he's going to go down. He's going to go down. He didn't go down. He just wouldn't go down. And I was like, why isn't he going down? I was losing my mind. My knees were still shaking in the blind. I could hardly contain myself with what was happening. Like, this was like, I was like, he's got to go down. I made a perfect shot. In total, it took about 6 minutes for him from the time he walked in till the time that he left out of camera shot, or out of frame, where I couldn't see him anymore. And I thought it was like 10 minutes to 15 minutes. Like, time was moving slow. But anyway, I thought for sure that he was just going to be laying right in the bush, just right over there. Because I had, from the looks of it, and as you can tell, the impact of the arrow, where the arrow hit, it looked perfect. He did turn away from the shot when I did shoot, which I didn't think about at the time. And I think that might have had something to do with why he lived as long as he did. I called my dad up, and I was like, hey, I shot a deer. I need you to come out and help me track him. So while I was waiting for my dad, I went up and walked up and got my arrow, and I gave her the old smell test, and it smelled like guts, which extremely shocked me, because I was not expecting to find guts on that arrow at all. Just by where I saw it hit, I watched the replay like 7 times, 8 times over again of where I shot him. I was very confident that I'd made a good shot, but the arrow just smelled horrible. And I was like, oh, great. So my dad got there, we looked at everything, we looked at the arrow, we followed about 10 yards to where he had been standing. There was a little bit of blood there and a little bit leading away where he walked. So we decided to back out. So we came home and we waited for 2 or 3 hours, I believe it was. And then we went back out looking for him. Now, I don't have any footage of us actually going out looking for him. I wasn't worried about that at that time. What ended up happening was we tracked him for probably 50 yards and found his first bed. And there was a lot of blood there. It did smell, like we could smell him before we even got up to his first bed. And there was fresh wolf tracks in the bed. And I was so mad. I know it's hunting, it happens that the wild animals will get there before you do it. It happens more so up here in Canada, I think, than elsewhere, because the amount of wolves that are around here is just ridiculous. They smell guts and they're just, I mean, any animal, I guess. But anyway, so we kept following the blood trail. We followed it for another 20, 30 yards, sorry. And all of a sudden another set of wolf tracks came in from the side. And then we followed it some more, another set of wolf tracks came in. And after following the trail for probably close to an hour, I would assume, we had gone quite the distance. It ended up actually crossing a road, and we crossed the road, kept following it, and we just couldn't find it. And there was more and more wolf tracks coming in. So eventually, we just decided to call it, and I was very bummed, extremely bummed. It was just a horrific moment for me. Not horrific, but it was a downer. It was an extreme downer because I'd worked so hard to get to that point, and then to have this happen, and it just completely messed a bunch of stuff up psychologically in my head, of what went wrong. I replayed that over and over and over again in my head. I don't know what happened. I aimed everything was good up in till my release was good. The arrow flight was good. The impact was like everything happened perfect. But I guess I wasn't as on as I thought it was. And you don't know exactly what you hit sometimes, and it just happens. But anyway, I was pretty bummed about that. But anyway, it's probably one of my favorite hunting stories that I have. I don't know. There's definitely other favorites. This is probably one of mine just because it's so memorable it's so memorable in my mind of that whole day. It sucks, but it happens. It was a great learning experience too for me. This was actually back when I was using my bear bow, still my apprentice bow. I was having trouble with the serving moving up and down, and I didn't know it at the time. I didn't figure it out till later in the season. I was actually till the season ended. I had no clue that was happening. That may have played a part in it. I don't think so, but you never know. I don't know. I did end up getting my, I ended up getting my first buck then the next year at this same spot. I put a tree stand up instead of a ground blind and was able to harvest my first buck. So that was very exciting for me. Also probably one of my favorite hunts. It's definitely up there. But anyway, that is my wolf hunting story. Not wolf hunting, it's deer hunting, but with wolves in it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of my old hunting clips that I have a few footage of, I could tell more stories. If you want to see that, make sure to comment down below and let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Boom! Bailey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing?